Hi everyone, I'm Dan Harding, Editor-in-Chief of Power Motor Yacht and the host of today's podcast. Podcast episodes, they're kind of like children. You're not supposed to have a favorite, but if this one was my child, it would get an extra scoop of ice cream. Today, I'm bringing you my conversation with President of Volvo Penta Marine, Johan Inden, from their test facility in Sweden, as the company debuted their first hybrid electric propulsion system. In the episode, we certainly talk about hybrid tech, of course, but it's also Inden's vision for the future and what boating might look like in 20 years that really fascinates me. I hope you enjoy a look into his crystal ball. Now, before we get started, I'm excited to welcome aboard a new sponsor for the podcast, Inden, a company I've been lucky enough to cross paths with many times over the years, whether it was reviewing a new line of LED lights or testing their zip wake trim tab system. They distribute countless products that are used aboard the high-end yachts we cover on a regular basis. So I'm excited to have them as a partner. For any boat, you need lighting that's engineered for corrosion resistance, ease of installation, and practical functionality, combined with proven LED electrical design, efficient optical design, thermal management, and robust electronic components. At Inden, they understand the core characteristics of high-quality marine lighting and offer thousands of light fixtures from the world's best manufacturers. Inden is truly the best source for marine lighting. You can learn more at inden.com. All right, without further ado, welcome to our episode on the future of boating with Volvo Penta. Fun one here, probably the best view of a podcast I've ever had, right outside Gothenburg, Sweden. Here with Johan Inden. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, President of Volvo Penta Marine Business. Johan, thanks for having me here today.
Thanks for coming here and spending this fantastic day with us.
All right, you didn't have to twist my arm too hard. What is this exact location? This is your test center.
Exactly.
Where are we?
We're in Sweden. We're on the west coast. We're at Krossholmen, which is really
I'm glad you pronounced that.
Legendary place for us. This is the heart of many of the innovations that we do. So this is where we get hands-on, where we roll up our sleeves. We build the ideas we have, we put it in the water, and we do, I don't know how many thousand hours of boating we do here every year, but it's a massive amount of hours just to collect experience, test and validate our product, and test all ideas.
Wow. How long have you had this location?
Oh, we bought it in the 60s. So it's been, I'd say, it's part of the DNA of the company to have this place and really be able to fast get out on the water and test.
So like through the stern drives, IPS, I mean, think of some of the biggest innovations you guys have had.
Absolutely.
Was tested in these waters.
Absolutely.
It's such an interesting test bed too, because it's I don't know, these waters, I look at all these, like the archipelago and all these rocks, and it feels like a tough proving ground. It feels...
It is a tough proving ground. Someone said the other day when we were chatting, there's a big warehouse of stuff out here that we were dropped from the boat or we ran into something. So testing for real, right?
There's a couple pods out there somewhere.
For sure. Actually, the first crash tests for the IPS were done out here as well. They built a concrete platform, 25 knots, just making sure that the way we are supposed to break the pods worked. I was not driving it, I did not watch it, but I can imagine that was a pretty intense moment.
What a job.
What a job,
imagine
exactly.
Being that person to do the crash tests on the early pods.
Yeah.
That's like coming home from work with a story, though.
It is for sure. It is for sure. And it's a bit us as well. Make sure it works. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the natural thing to start on is, what I was able to test today, one of the newest innovations coming is the hybrid electric propulsion system.
Exactly.
Lucky enough to run it on a NC37 and just really impressive. But you guys are no strangers to hybrid propulsion. I mean, how long has this system been cooking in the background?
Well, been cooking. You're always amazed when you look back on how long you've played with technology. I think out here at the test center, we built our first hybrid system on an advanced engineering level almost 10 years back, right? So we've run full electric boats, hybrid boats, serial electric vessels, and today we're maturing that platform and we're showing it to the public to gather both feedback on how it works, but as you know, we're also running ahead on the commercial side of our business because that's where we can really put it through durability testing. So the platform you're testing today in the leisure context is also in a tourist vessel up in Svalbard. As far north that you can go almost, running in that environment. We have serial electric installations of larger vessels running in commercial operation in the crew transfer vessel market, so that is deploying service personnel in offshore wind farms. So those are really good proving grounds for our technology before we mature it for full industrialization across the market. Right. So you're participating in pre-industrialization testing now.
Well, I think that's funny because you guys said that it's like, hey, we're getting feedback from the press and dealers about how the system is, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting caveat. But I mean, you guys must have felt pretty secure because that system, it really was turnkey today and looked very much ready for prime time.
Exactly, but that's really good to have that feedback. And what we want to make sure is, I mean, one thing is controlling the technology. And I'd say we're pretty confident on that. The other one is making sure that there is a product market fit when you put it on the market, because the use case is a bit different than you would have in a regular power boat. You need to understand, how do I really benefit from the hybrid setup? When do I use electric? When do I use the combustion part of it? How is that power plant balance? Do I really make my savings, so to say?
Right,
so that's the first level, to understand how the customer will use and appreciate it. The second one, how do we package it? How do we sell it? Because honestly, it will be a more pricey package, and the boat weighs a bit more, but there are benefits, and then there are those things. So we want to understand that product market fit. That's so important, how you place this on the market.
So that's a good point. That was going to be one of my first questions: is why is the time right now, or soon as it's being developed for a hybrid propulsion? Because it's safe to say, based on what you've done commercially, you guys could have probably fast-tracked this project. But why are we getting closer now?
No, but I think we're onto it. The timing is important, right? You need to make sure that it's durable enough, and when we do a development project like we're in right now, just designing something and putting it together and putting it in a boat and making it look pretty neat is a small part of the project. Then you got preparing for industrialization with the entire supply chain. You got all the test and validation. A project like this would probably do 10,000 hours of testing here before we would deploy it. It's also making sure that our service personnel, we have 3,500 dealer points across the world. Well, of course, not all will be traded day one, because we will probably know where the vessels are going, but that's also an infrastructure that needs to be in place in order to take care of the client in a good way, right? So it's a long journey from just conceiving the idea and putting it in a boat to actually being prepared to put it out there in a structured way.
Well, I think that's true. I mean, also think the Volvo Penta, I mean, you guys are a giant player, where it's maybe a smaller builder can get away with a couple electric boats. They don't have to think about that global audience and global service.
Exactly. We need to take care of our brand and make sure we deliver to expectations. That's part of what we do, right?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, so you must have obviously spent a lot of time with this project. There's a lot of things I like. I mean, it's the boat seems to really seamlessly go from electric to diesel back down to electric, and the three modes of charging. When you get into all those real details in the upcoming Power Motor Yacht story, but what is it about your hybrid system that really what excites you the most?
I think it is what you're on, the integration, right? To seamlessly being able to use the different modes, the different use case. So if we very quick transition how you use this, right? What I love the most about it is if we would walk up to the boat now and we start it will be completely silent.
Right.
We don't need to disturb the neighbor who's having breakfast on the back of his boat, because we start revving our diesel engines to warm them up. So we will be prepared, completely silent. We will have access to all the docking technology that we have in full electric mode. So you'll recognize the joystick, you'll recognize the joystick docking, the DPS function, the assisted docking, etc. Right? And you'll have that available. And what's really fun, when you put the electric engine in the mix, you got immediate torque. So you will probably feel a bit of even better precision on the joystick whilst you move out in full electric mode.
I think that one of the biggest compliments I can give is, like, the IPS has changed boating irreparably. Just what it made heroes out of a lot of people. It made docking a lot easier, and it really this is sound like butt kissing, but I didn't think that joystick could get much better. But you guys actually did that with the electric because of how fast, it's not shifting. The torque is instantaneous.
Exactly. Thank you. But that's really what we love to hear, and it's part of the development. Cool. And I think that's what we'll see. I mean, now we talk a lot about what's the batteries and how the electric engines. I want the boater to don't need to care about that. I want the boater to feel the experience and feel the control and really be able to feel, wow, this is a fantastic experience getting out there, and I don't need to worry about the stuff down there. It takes me through a fantastic journey. And I mean, coming back to then, if we have left the dock, so to say, we'll be able to cruise full electric up to roughly 10 knots. If we would like to, running hybrid mode, we'll get a seamless engagement of the diesel engines around 10 to 12 knots or 1500 RPM. That's when you start hearing the water sound. That's when you feel much more seamless going on to the diesels. And then if you're really in a hurry somewhere, you choose your power mode, right? And then you engage the diesels and the electric engine as a torque booster. So you get your extra turbo, more or less, right? Which will really make a big difference in the acceleration. So it's everything from going silent, really serene, to getting that power boost. You can choose a bit how you want to use it.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I sometimes catch a fair amount of flack. We do a lot of, alternative propulsion, reviews, whether it's hydrogen. We've done our fair share of electric boats, and I always get a couple emails about, that, this is, a fake push for the sustainability. And whatever people think about that is one thing, but first and foremost, like, the experience has to come first. People don't want a lesser experience just for sustainability. Like, I think this system offers, first and foremost, a better boating experience, and also all the other benefits that come with.
No, but I think you're absolutely right, and that's very much in our DNA. What I believe in, you have to. Transformation goes fastest when you can provide a better experience with it, right? It's the ultimate pacemaker in transformation, and that's what I love about these platforms. It gives that extra ability for us to innovate. So the number of layers of innovation we can put on this when we go from a regular combustion engine to actually blend in the battery, the electric engine, it just gives us more dimensions to work with.
Right. And then losing, last thing on the system, but then not having to have a generator, run a generator that you can power the boat, and the air conditioners now.
Exactly.
When you're on the hook is that's a huge benefit.
That's kind of, coming back to this product market fit. Those are some of the balances we wanna find out. Okay, because again, it will be more expensive. But what are the trade-offs? Well, we're actually taking out the generator. You'll have silent night, so you have full power. You can run your AC overnight. We're dimensioning the system like that. Okay, but that's a trade-off. That's in weight and cost, etc. So getting that right is really important.
For sure. Well, one of the things I admire most about Volvo Penta is that you guys are always coming out with innovations or like these visions for the future. Not just like a couple of years, but you're talking this morning about like, what is boating going to be like in 15, 20 years? And I think that's kind of where I want to go to next. I mean, let's just swing for the fences. Let's go 20 years. It's what do you think the boating world looks like?
Wow, that's a big question, but it's a wonderful question, right?
No, it's a huge question.
No, but I usually say we have two methods of getting stuff done here, right? We're in the dream room and we think really, okay, what will actually happen long term, 20 years, and then we try to find, okay, what of the pieces we're dreaming of could we just test today? Roll up the sleeves and build it and put it in the water at this place. Yeah. So doing those two things in parallel is really what paces our innovation. We were at CES in Las Vegas early this January, sharing what's called Boating for Everyone vision. Everything from how will you consume boating to how do we solve charging? Where do you go? We conceived the idea of the Penta island out there with the charging opportunities. Yeah, that got a fantastic reaction. Yeah. We got calls from builders. Hey, when are you planning to build this? We want to be the contractor. It was fantastic, and boaters saying, couldn't you build the first test just out here in the archipelago so we could start playing with it? Restaurant owners say, I want to run the restaurant, and exactly what we want. what we want to happen in this.
Cool.
So you trigger the ideas, and now we've done 3 more chapters. We will continue. So we built a kind of a maintenance process of the dreaming.
Yeah.
But coming back to your question, what do I think? I think we have in the journey towards sustainability, we have something about accessibility out on the water, and it's not only going sustainable on the propulsion system, but look at the utilization of a boat today. Typically, I mean, people spend few hours or tens of hours or maybe 50 hours on the engine, and of course overnight stays, etc. But it's so much downtime that can be utilized in more of a sharing system, perhaps. There are different parts of the world that are more or less prepared for it, but I think those business models are definitely something for the future. We will continue to see innovation in ease of access and getting out into the environment. We've just started on the level of automation with assisted docking and what we can build on our software platform.
Yeah.
Different type of sensors, more effective radars will give us even more opportunities going forward. Of course, we will see a move towards electric. It's a very effective platform, and we will see evolution of different power sources. The combustion engine has been kind of our versatile go-to every solution, or solves every problem. You can go short, long distances, etc.
Yep.
In the future, we'll see alternative fuels being combusted in the combustion engine. You will see fuel cells coming. You will see much more effective battery packs. So adding to that platform of sustainability. So those are some of the trends that we see going forward.
Hey everyone, just a quick break to remind you that our sponsor, Imtra, is a 100% employee-owned company committed to bringing the best in-class products, expert product knowledge, and unparalleled sports in the entire marine industry throughout North America since 1952. For all their product offerings, head on over to imtra.com.
Well, maybe the next question can be about hydrogen, because that's in the not so far off future for you guys.
Exactly.
You guys have plans. It sounds like you've been experimenting with hydrogen for quite a while now, and that it's the IPS Pro. What's the new platform?
Exactly.
You guys have been developing.
Yeah. So fuel cells is interesting. I've said, the fuel cell the idea was done somewhere in the over 100 years ago, right?
Yeah,
so it's been around.
Yep.
But what I see now is that it's really coming into commercial applications, and it's in commercial development. We have our friends on the truck side. We're part of the Volvo group, so the trucking is a big part of it. There we've even joined up in an alliance between the Volvo group and Daimler group, which are two heavyweights in this industry, to do a joint development of commercial fuel cells. So that development is ongoing. We're actually building the first commercial vessel with fuel cells as we speak, and it will be in operation in Norway, just to start testing out how it works.
What's the timeline for that? When will that
one will be sailing, if not probably during 25, if not late next year. So it's in the foreseeable future. Then volume production is a bit further out. Fuel cell as such is stabilizing. The challenge is to carry your hydrogen.
Right.
So for a commercial vessel going in a confined environment, point A to B, back to A, you get the frequent refueling options, just like you would have with a battery challenge. Yep. But if we've also done some fairly detailed calculations on a yacht going in a versatile environment where you choose your destination based on the wind and the weather. You'd have to carry a huge amount of hydrogen, and compressed hydrogen weighs a lot, because how you carry it needs a lot of strong equipment, like carbon fiber cylinders, and the volume of it is fairly big as well. So I see it being applied on the commercial side first, without doubt.
Okay.
Then you can do combustion. Then you can do hydrogen as part of your combustion cycle as well. That's also something we're playing with. So you have it as a blend-in fuel.
Right.
Reduce the amount of diesel.
That seemed fascinating.
You push in hydrogen, and you run it in a regular combustion engine with some smaller adaptations that we have up and running in the labs, and are actually bringing commercial right now. There's a vessel in Japan sailing like this today, actually.
So that's amazing. Can you maybe explain that one more time? So you have these hydrogen tanks, like let's say the middle of the boat, and then so the hydrogen will go through
you in very simple way you put an extra rail on the engine and you eject it straight into the cylinders with a software exactly with a software steering that exactly. So you do pilot injections in order to be able to ignite it, and then your substitution levels, that's what we are experimenting with, might be 40 to 60 70%, something like that. So you would never you wouldn't go 100%, but you would have a fairly high substitution level, which is a very interesting technology as well.
And with the same engines, then you run out of hydrogen, you're crossing the ocean, and then it just would run on diesel.
Absolutely. So I think it's really interesting because there are some go-to solutions already today. For example, and it depends where you are on the globe. If you have access to HVO 100, for example, which is a biofuel, a green biofuel, right. If you put that in your tank today, you'd reduce your carbon emissions by 80 to 90%. You still burn and you still emit carbon, but it's green carbon because it's from renewable sources as compared to fossil. So that's a way to get sustainable in your conscience already from start.
That's really interesting. You said something this morning that really made a lot of sense. That electric is isn't the future. It's part of the future.
Absolutely.
And I think everyone's quick to be like, oh, there's gonna be a silver bullet that's gonna replace diesel and it's gonna replace gas. That's not what your prediction for the future. These are all going to live in harmony.
It becomes part of exactly, and it becomes part of a platform, right? I think we typically end up in so many binary discussions. Is it this or that? And of course we do that because we like to speculate, right?
Sure.
Is it going this way or that way? But bringing in, as I said, the electric engine and the batteries into the mix, even with the combustion engine, as we see here, elevates the levels of feature you can bring, and that's what I think is exciting because then we can give a better boating experience to boaters.
That's the key, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. What does digital docking mean to you, and what do you think? That was one of the visions I think that came out of CES, and that looked fairly fascinating. What's that all about?
No, but docking is kind of our home turf in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. with the EVC system or the electronic architecture and the joystick that we implemented with the IPS now almost 20 years back, right? And then on top of that, we've continued to innovate with the DPS function. So you push the button and you stand still based on the GPS position and automation in the drivetrain. Yep. Then assisted docking a couple of years back. Mm-hmm. So I usually we kind of play with the idea. Here we have guests during the days joining us. Some of them haven't driven a boat like the test boats we have here. Yeah. So in the morning, I promised one of our guests that you will dock this 46-foot yacht before lunch, and he felt a bit awkward, but we did it. Yeah, before lunch, he was docking this based on the system that we're using, and I think the big thing is that you can start taking it slow. You can breathe, you can relax, you have control, you can take it step by step, right? And there are so many more things we can do on that. We've integrated on the same boat the surround view by Garmin, one of our partners. But of course, these two systems doesn't talk to each other yet. But it's an obvious extension of how do you get more and more data and help and assistance in the movements and the maneuvers you want to do. So that progression, I think, is fantastic. It brings me out in bigger vessels than I would dare usually, etc. And I think that's something we want to bring to the market, right?
The surround view and your IPS not communicating yet is an interesting way of putting that.
That's one way of talking about the future, right?
Yeah, that's
then we'll see what happens.
That's very interesting. I saw another one of those visions you guys came out with was kind of this picture of like boats rafting up and sharing power.
Right.
What's the idea there?
No, but I think as we talk about, one thing we focus a lot on, and I think is the comment is that's okay. How much energy will I get there? Type of questions, right? Right. Do I have enough batteries to get to my destination, or how much? We know it today. How much fuel do I have to carry? Am I filled up enough to do my journey? And I think we want want to lower the focus on just that and talk about what are the different solutions you can find. And in the video or in the vision, we talk about that. How do you pair up and how do you charge together? We also talk about the kind of the manta array.
That was my next question.
Coming and charging your boat overnight. Just to start imagining that flexibility. Actually, in one of the new chapters, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but we're also doing this, which we talk about on the car side, where if you dock your boat close enough to your summer house or wherever, it can actually start working as a buffer with your house as well. So, discovering a bit how do we flow energy between those systems, and how do we lower the threshold of understanding how it can be done, and getting away from that being a barrier of innovation, a barrier from innovation. I think that's those are some good crazy ideas, right?
No, it's definitely the most forward-looking. Some would say crazy, but then again, if you said that there's going to be autonomous docking and hybrid propulsion where it is today, other people would have said you were crazy too. So,
exactly.
Fortune favors the crazy, I think. We got to talk about that man array idea though, because that looked too cool. So I guess hard to describe in audio without seeing it, so we'll link the video, but it was essentially almost an underwater drone of sorts that as the current would flow through, spin some
exactly, and it would be the entire idea is that when you're moored overnight, it kind of sneaks up on your boat and charges it while you have downtime anyway, right? And then
you lost me there. I'm swimming. I don't want anything sneaking up on me, but that's an interesting idea. Have you guys done any experimentation with?
Well, calculations and CAD drawings, etc. Absolutely, and again, it triggers a lot of ideas. And of course, the first thing will not be a manta array, sailing underwater.
Right.
But we've actually constructed, or on paper, and we're actually seeing some partners want to build it, barges with the charging capability. And of course, that's an ugly-looking manta, but it's the first part, right? And the idea of innovation is not to look for that perfect thing and then wait until it's done, but it's there's the vision. How do we break it down into something that can be the first step?
I love that.
And that is really how do we get a barge? How do we get a charging capability, either a big battery pack or or even a genset running on HVO with a battery pack to be able to offer charging out in the archipelago? Well, that's doable today. That we could offer this summer if we wanted to, and then the distance is not that big as the dream looks, right? So that I think is you have to break it down and see what's the next step in order to get there. Right?
That's so interesting. It's like not letting perfection stand in the way of progress, kind of.
Exactly, because then you never discover, right? I mean, I think it's so fantastic with this facility. Every time we go out and test something, we discover a new angle. Right. One of the stations here is we've built a place where you can build your own helm station. It's like a cardboard thing where you stick stuff, and just seeing people stepping in there, we had some good examples because we're also on the boat launching the joystick driving, right? So you get not only the docking experience, but you get throttle and gears in your joystick, right? So suddenly you can do your entire journey just doing the joystick. So we had a good example yesterday. Someone said, okay, this is my perfect helm station. You could place it where you want to, steering wheel in the middle. Went out testing, came back and said, show me, let's dress it up again. And he took the steering wheel and threw it away and said, I don't want this anymore, because now I experience joystick driving, and it's perfect.
Wow.
That was a fantastic way of imagining.
It does feel like something's missing though, with no wheel sitting there.
But you need a handle. That's what we discovered, right?
Something, yeah, exactly. I think about the only other future for the joystick, now that you have joystick docking, and that it could shift for you too. It's like, there's not a lot of people out there, but what about someone who's wheelchair bound, and I just think about the accessibility of being able to go from dock to dock,
exactly,
and not stand up and not reach and be uncomfortable. You do it
exactly, and there I think we have what it triggers, and what we realize is that it opens up for a very different type of ergonomics. And if we look again at our friends on the truck side, they do a huge amount of research on the ergonomics of driving a truck. How do you have accessibility of all the equipment, etc. And to be honest, when we look at the boat world, we don't spend that much research across the industry on how do you stand and how do you work. But this opens up for a different way of looking at that, just as we see on commercial vessels. How do you build it in the armrest? How do you make sure to have a relaxed, safe position when you navigate, etc. So I hope it will also trigger quite some innovation on that side.
Interesting. Wouldn't have thought of that, but that makes a lot of sense. One of the last things I wanted to ask about the future. What do you see as the future of outboards?
Oh, that's a good question. But I think outboards and inboards in all its version both have their merits. Outboards, you can get it out of the water, for example, which we know is really appreciated. Inboards, you might have a different level of torque available. You might have etc. So both have. What is interesting with the future architecture is that inboards are built with shaft lines through the stern, and outboards everything is hanging on the outside. Very simple, right? I take the very simplistic version of an engineer.
Well said.
Electric platforms open up to start rethinking that. You can integrate the electric engine in the drive. You don't have a motor which you have to hang somewhere. You can actually feed the power to the electric engine with cables instead. So I don't think we will be here 10 years down the line talking about inboards versus outboards. I think we will be talking about something else that is a merger of the two platforms or something that is different. That's me looking into the future.
Interesting. I'm trying to.
We're kind of stuck because both architecture are built on having a combustion engine in an as uncomplicated way connected to the propeller, if I make it very simple, as possible. But suddenly we can start doing electric engines close to the propulsion unit, and then you can feed that with power in many different ways. Like if you look at a super yacht today, you typically have a serial electric setup, right? You have an engine room somewhere that generates power. That power is fed through cables to a thruster, where you have an integrated electric engine and propeller system or thruster system. That opens up for a different level of architecture. I guess that will go into smaller boats. That would be my guess.
That's a good guess. That's
let's see.
I wouldn't have thought of it like that. But if you think of it like a thruster, why does it have to be just hanging off the back, or why does it have to be
exactly? Think about it.
All right. Always good person to ask about the future. That is a very interesting answer. Anything else as you look towards the future of boating and Volvo Penta's role in it that makes you particularly excited?
What we believe in is really how do we make the different systems speak to each other in such a good way that we provide a better boating experience. And we have our EV system, we have the IPS, we have the joystick system. We own a company called Humphrey working with stabilization system that are also speaking to each other, etc. So the better we can work on integrating all those different features of a boat, the better boating experience we can provide, and the better you get access to different parts of this in order to drive innovation, right? So the more integrated, the better platform to continue this evolution of innovation, and that's really our purpose, to see how do we make this platform work in the best way for the boater, because ultimately we're here to get people out on the water in a safe way so they can enjoy, right? That's the purpose of our industry.
It's cool. I mean, before I came out here, I looked back at some of our previous reporting on Volvo Penta, and a lot of stories from our friend Captain Bill Pike and his many visits here, and it's fascinating to read these stories about like early stern drives, the first IPS. What people were really kind of unsure about. What IPS was going to do, and it's got these pods. What if they break off? And
exactly,
there was a lot of skepticism, but.
I think consistency pays off, and obviously it has to deliver, right? Yeah.
Well, that's true. Well, hopefully I can come back and visit sometime down the road and see what else you guys have cooking. It's been an excellent visit.
The only thing I know is that we will have more things done for you then.
All right, I'm going to hold you to it, and
excellent.
Can't wait to come back. Thanks
You're
so
welcome.
much, Johan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Power Motor Yacht Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please do us a favor and leave us a review or rating. Or you can share us with your friends on social media or on the VHF. Anywhere you spread the word means a lot to us. Thanks again, and until next time, we'll see you on the water. Whether you're looking for navigational lights, underwater lights, interior, exterior, cabin, or utility lighting, Imtra has it all, offering lights from leading brands like BCM, Lumishore, Prebit, French, DHR, and their own proprietary lights. Imtra has a team of experts dedicated to sourcing the best products and helping you find the best solution for your boat. You can give them a call at 508-995-7000 or visit them online at imtra.com for all your lighting questions.